Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we've got some more issues in Battlefield 6 to go over. I know it feels like there's quite a lot of them at the moment, but alongside that, there are some incoming fixes that DICE have issued, and then we're going to talk about how many copies and really just how well Battlefield 6 is doing in its sales figures, as it has been reportedly sold to 6.5 million people. Sounds like a lot of people, but is that actually a good number? Before we begin, if you guys do enjoy the content here on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with everything in the Battlefield sphere. There's going to be plenty of guides coming, and of course I will keep you guys up to date on the news as usual. Thank you guys for the support on yesterday's video. You guys are absolutely insane. Really appreciate it, and with that said, let's just jump in here. So in yesterday's video, I touched on a bug that exists in Battlefield 6 where sometimes bullets are not registering, and this has now apparently been addressed, and the Battlefield Communications account just tweeted this earlier today saying, "We are aware of reports of rare cases where bullets may not register damage correctly when hitting enemies. Following our investigation, we found this was related to certain weapon attachment combinations. A hotfix has been deployed to address known instances. We'll continue to monitor performance." Now, it is worth mentioning here that the Cadwoman, aka Mary, she commented on this post saying, "Can you actually name the weapon attachments and the combinations?" And Florian, the lead game designer, says they're various and intermittent, so they can't give a good list, unfortunately. So as far as we know, this has been fixed, but since they don't really know exactly which weapons and combinations of attachments it is affecting, I would say there's still a chance this could crop up in the future. So, you know, if you guys do see any instances of that, feel free to leave them in the comments. Go and, you know, at the developers, maybe Florian or somebody over on X, and let them know about it. Now, I think it's safe to say that Battlefield 6 is doing pretty well. There are massive player numbers on Steam. We hit like over 600,000 people concurrently playing on the first day, but there is a brand new report out of Alinea Analytics that details just how many copies of Battlefield 6 have been sold and how much revenue EA have generated. And the Battlefield Bulletin account has put a nice summary of this together, and he says, breaking, according to Alinea Analytics, Battlefield 6 has already sold more than 6.5 million copies in just 4 days, and the game has generated over $350 million in revenue. And if you're wondering what the split looks like, we've got 56.7% of all sales on Steam, so that's on PC, with about $220 million in revenue, 23.7% of sales with more than 1.5 million copies sold on PlayStation 5, and then 19.6% selling over 1.2 million copies for Xbox Series X and S. Now, if you're anything like me, you're probably thinking, what about the EA app? I think Battlefield 6 is also available on the Epic Games Store, so I guess for whatever reason they're not able to count those copies sold, and so that would lead me to believe that the amount of copies sold is actually more than 6.5 million. I guess the only platforms that, you know, publicly share how many copies have been sold are Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. Now, 6.5 million copies, that sounds like a lot of people, but is it actually that many people? Well, let's compare it to some older Battlefield games. Battlefield 1, widely touted as the most successful Battlefield game in recent history, sold over 15 million copies. Now that is in total, I believe. So all the times that Battlefield 1 has gone on sale, you know, even up to recently where it's been going for like $5 or less, I think all of those copies are also counted in there. So 6.5 million already for Battlefield 6 in just 4 days is probably pretty good. If we then take a look at Battlefield 5, that one sold over 14 million copies. It has sold 7.3 million by the end of 2018. So I believe Battlefield 5 came out around October, and so in 3 months' time, it had only sold around 800,000 more copies than Battlefield 6 has currently sold. My guess is that EA's plan here is to put the game on its first sale, on its first discount, probably around Black Friday, and leading into Christmas time, so I have no doubt in my mind that they will surpass those figures. And then Battlefield 2042, of course, which most of us would probably put out of our minds, sold 9.6 million units, which is actually still pretty surprising. Now that being said, let's not forget that EA's goal here, or so we've heard, so is rumoured, is 100 million players in total. So 6.5 isn't really that much compared to 100 mil. They've only made $350 million in revenue so far. That sounds like a lot of money, but it's also been reported that they spent over $400 million developing this game, with the 4 studios that were working on it, of course, so you can imagine that costs a lot of cash, and they haven't even made that back yet. They haven't even broken even yet, never mind started to generate profit. Generally speaking, when it comes to AAA games, a good amount of revenue is several $100 million. Probably they are expecting upwards of $1 billion in revenue for a game like Battlefield 6. So they are still a long way away from that, but of course, that can definitely change as time goes on. Okay, moving on, even though the problem with the hit registration has now apparently been addressed, there's another one that's come up, and that is to do with bloom, bullet deviation, spread, whatever you want to call it, random bullet deviation basically, which means that as you fire your weapon, if you don't stop firing and burst fire the weapon, your bullets will basically get a random recoil factor and they will jut off in some random direction that you can't really account for as a player. And this is an intended mechanic in the gunplay of the game. Unfortunately though, there is a bug currently, and this is showcased really well here by the Tactical Brit. He put this one on Twitter, where sometimes even though he stops firing and resets the recoil and resets the spread, it's still affecting his weapon. So this is clearly a bug that needs to be addressed here. And once again, Florian has come in on this video and he says the beta bug was actually fixed, but we've identified another issue, two in fact, that impacts dispersion or bloom in an unintended way and will cause you to have more dispersion at times. The team is working on this and we're looking at general balance and tuning of dispersion too, which I think a lot of people will agree has maybe been increased a little bit too much from the beta. I will be the first one to say that I think in the beta, guns were a little bit too laser beamy, they were maybe a little bit too easy to control, maybe they needed to increase the recoil, but they've really upped the bloom for the full release of the game, so maybe they do need to rein that in just a little bit. Okay, this next change has literally just dropped as I'm recording this video, and they've actually nerfed the ticket count for Conquest on, well, pretty much all of the maps here. So they say, we reduce the starting ticket count across all Conquest maps so matches finish at a more natural pace. Previously, many rounds were hitting the time limit instead of ending when one team ran out of tickets. We'll keep monitoring feedback and data to make sure the flow of each match feels right. And these are the changes here. So for Siege of Cairo, Empire State, Iberian Offensive, they've gone down from 1,000 tickets to 900. For Liberation Peak and Manhattan Bridge, they've gone down to 800. For Operation Firestorm, they've gone all the way down to 700. 900 there again for New Sobek City, and then also 700 for Mirak Valley. So it seems like those really, really big maps are a bit prone to the timer running out there rather than the tickets ending up getting depleted. And then, of course, the 9th map in the game since Quarter is not available on Conquest, so that's the reason they haven't changed that one. Now, this change kind of confuses me a bit, because I originally saw it and thought, well, do they think the Conquest rounds are too long? Because I certainly don't. You know, I don't think they should shorten the rounds this way. And if the problem is that the timer's running out, can't they just increase the timer? Or get rid of the timer? Like, who needs a timer on Conquest anyway? Because they've already got this mechanic where if one team gets all caps, then you get this like critical condition countdown thingy where it ends up in that team winning after like 20 seconds or so. So, you know, I don't think that can really end up being a problem, but what do I know? I'm not a game developer, I'm just some dude who plays it. Feel free to leave your comments and your thoughts on that below though. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with DICE? Let me know below. And yet another important one here, they say we've seen your feedback and increase the out-of-bounds timer for vehicles on Manhattan Bridge on Conquest and Escalation from 5 seconds to 10 seconds, giving you more time to turn and get back onto the battlefield. We'll keep monitoring and will adjust further if needed. So, as you probably know, if you go out of bounds in Battlefield and the timer counts down to 0, you will die, and they only gave you a not so generous 5 seconds, so if you flew out of bounds in the helicopter, you literally had no time to turn around and get back in bounds again, so they've doubled that timer there. Definitely a welcome addition. And finally here, for anybody who's experiencing any of these weird bugs, here's a bit of a list that is currently affecting players. DICE know about these, they are working on fixes for them, but I just wanted to put these out there in case any of you guys have encountered them. So first off, players get bounced off when jumping or climbing up a ladder. Console players can't adjust the acceleration settings. Class active abilities aren't working. The supply bag gets bugged when players deploy it on complex geometry on maps. I've definitely been a victim of that one before. There's a bug which makes the reticle fly off screen when going from sprint to crouch. If you change your weapon loadout while playing, the cursor moves outside the map in the deploy screen. Below radar isn't working on the minimap when enemy vehicles are at a very close range. So by below radar, I actually think it's not below radar. I think it's the air radar that isn't working on the minimap. I think this is either a typo here by Battlefield Bulletin or whatever the source for this one is, but it's air radar that isn't working properly, and what that is basically the thing on your minimap when you're flying jets that displays where enemy aircraft are, and you'll probably notice most of the time you just can't see them. It makes dogfighting incredibly difficult, so good to hear that they do realize that is a problem. There is a potential visual bug which is causing the edges of the screen to darken randomly. The error message "no servers found, purchase" is being fixed via Portal server browser, unlock markers are bugged, and players can't equip a new weapon attachment in the same match. Oh my god, that one is so annoying. There's also a bug where the cursor resets, preventing them from changing a weapon attachment via the loadout screen. You know, first when I started playing Battlefield 6, I was like, oh, it's actually pretty good. It seems fairly free of bugs, but the more you play, I think the more you notice, the more things you pick up on there, and that has to be the number one kind of irritation for me. You unlock a new attachment for your weapon, it takes forever, you try and equip it, and you're like, oh, I can't, and you have to back out to the menu to do that. But good to hear that they are working on fixing those, and judging by the release cadence of these fixes, I don't think we're going to have to wait too long to get those in the game. So that is going to do it for today's video, guys. As always, if you enjoyed this one or found it informative, leaving a like down below is always appreciated. Don't forget to leave a comment and let me know what you think about everything that we covered in the videos today. How are you guys finding the game so far? Have you been running into too many bugs yourselves, or have you had a fairly irritation-free experience? Hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with everything surrounding Battlefield 6. Take care, and I will see you all in the next video.